So because we hit 100 subs, Daniel had to torture himself.
Yes. Yeah, so yeah, I watched Madam Web. Of course, DB saw this in theaters when it came out. He braved the
Opening night.
opening nights. Yes.
In retrospect, I wonder if they launched it on Valentine's Day to try to trick some people into going to see. Oh, it's that girl from 50 Shades of Grey. This must be a romance movie.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, I will. I'll try not to do blow by blow of the plot because I think DB did a fairly good job of that on his review. But suffice it to say, this is definitely one of those funny bad movies that the entire time I'm watching it, I'm just like, they actually really made this. It's like, what is this? Ugh. Um, so Madam Web is of course focuses on Cassie Webb, played by Dakota Johnson, who seemed to be sleepwalking her way through this movie. Just she seemed very kind of disinterested most of the time, and she's a paramedic in New York, and her mom died, before she gave birth because she was in the where was she, Peru,
The jungle.
the
She
jungle.
was,
Okay,
I
she's
think they probably did specify Peru, but
yeah.
considering that she could fly from New York down to the jungle on a multi-hop flight and then be back in New York that afternoon, I don't know. Maybe it's that jungle that they have there in Jersey. I
Yeah,
don't know.
probably, yeah. But yeah, so her mom was there because she was looking for this spider that had this venom with healing properties, and the reason she's down there 8 months pregnant, which I was like, why is she down there 8 months pregnant? And then they explain it later on. Um, but yeah, and then she, of course, Cassie grows up and she's a paramedic in New York, and she starts so what happens is she falls into the river during a call, and then that's when her powers kick in, and she's able to see the future. It kind of starts off as these little moments of deja vu, and then later on, as they they're of course, her partner is Ben Parker, Uncle Ben, um, and then they go to the of course, the scene where Ben is telling Cassie about May, Aunt May. She's they just get really quiet, and she's like, "Oh, it sounds really serious." Like, why are you quiet?
Because I think that Aunt May was specifically not allowed to be mentioned.
Ah, okay. Just like Peter wasn't allowed to be mentioned.
Yes.
Because it's very obvious. Mary Parker, and her husband Richard. Gee, I wonder who they could be.
And there's probably 40 Mary Parkers in New York. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, yeah,
There's probably at least multiple ones named to somebody named Ben.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, then her powers start getting developing more and more, and then she's at the train station, and that's when she sees the bad guy, badly dubbed Ezekiel.
Ezekiel
Um,
in name only.
yeah, who I've seen better dubbing in a Hong Kong movie. Uh, but
The YouTube channel Nando has a really interesting take on like what he suspects the original plot of the film was based on things we heard in advance and like where there's clear overdubbing.
yeah, um, and she sees the vision of him killing these three girls, um, and that's because he's had visions of the three girls killing him, and that's of course you got Julia uh, Cornwall, that's Sydney Sweeney, and then you got Anya and Maddie, and I will say. They did their best to try to make Sydney Sweeney look as frumpy as possible.
Yeah, I still think that you couldn't quite ruin her, so she's still kind of nerd hot, but yeah, it's just
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It just didn't work. But yeah. So she's got to keep these three girls alive while she figures out. Well, she has to solve the mystery of her past. Um, it's bad. It's so the plot is very dumb. Certain character actions just don't make any sense. There are a lot of leaps in logic, very bad dialogue.
oh, like all the times that uh, all all the times that what's her name like the one of I forget which what her name was, but one of the girls kept like intentionally going out to get them in trouble.
Oh, that was Maddie. Yeah.
Maddie, that's right. Like it's like, huh? It's like she doesn't understand that you're being chased down by a crazy man.
Yeah. Even after they were chased down by the crazy man in in the subway. Hello. Um, but yeah, it's just, I mean, you know, I really didn't. I had a hard time caring about any of the characters in this. It's just like,
That's the proper response.
yeah, and yeah, I don't see this. Obviously, this movie bombed horribly, and nobody liked it. So I don't see it. The
What are you
franchise.
talking about? This was like the number one or number two movie on Netflix the week it came out. And as we know, every single Netflix movie that hits number one is worthy and is talked about for weeks or even months afterwards. Like for example, people still give a crap about the Union, which we talked about last week. Yep, yeah, definitely still seeing buzz about the Union. It's not like it fell into a giant hole and it hasn't been discussed since we did a review of it.
Yeah.
Like, I have
We're,
not seen anybody. I don't even think I saw like people like Chris Gore review that one.
yeah, I don't think he did. Yeah. Um, but yeah, this movie was just, yeah, and of course the cherry on top was Ezekiel getting crushed by the Pepsi sign.
Which
Pepsi
that's
Man.
hilarious. What's hilarious about that is that normally, if you look at Sony films, they've usually had the promotional deal going with Coke, but this movie was like no Coke, Pepsi.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. Yeah, I like talking about waifus better than this, but we got to 100 subscribers, and I made a promise that once we did, I would watch
Uh,
this movie. So
a dumb promise, uh,
yeah,
an ill-considered promise that didn't seem like it was going to happen at the time. Curse you, audience, for giving us views.
yeah, yes.
Subs.
uh, but yeah, I mean, if you want to, this is definitely one of those. Watch it with friends, with plenty of alcohol.
I noticed that a lot of your movie reviews come up like that. Let's see if it.
Yeah.
Let's see if this comes up in the next one.